we can frame it in many different ways.
Maybe the basics, where it started, where it is now, where it's going. Just
Yeah. So I study hatching. One of the core things. Study hatching as a critical point in the life of these frogs, right? Where all kinds of things change. So that's representative. All kinds of organisms, all kinds of animals have these like really key moments, switch points, decision points maybe in some cases in their lives where lots of things change, and they're kind of like what happens in that moment can be more important than what happens in some other moments. Going from little protected, constrained world inside of an egg to, you know, the larger world with different physical environment, different natural enemies, access to external resources. You know, it's a really big change. And early development, lots is changing about the abilities of the embryo. And so when to make a break and leave the egg, it has a lot of implications for survival, potentially for development. So focus on hatching as a critical life history switch point, and the integrative biology of early life stages. So I'm kind of generalist in some ways. I'm interested in behavior, I'm interested in physiology, I'm interested in ecology, I'm interested in evolution. I try to pull together, and relate all of these different kinds of elements of biology. So this is a great system for doing that. And another kind of big theme in what we do is phenotypic plasticity. So the fact that phenotype, the expressed characteristics of an organism, basically anything that you can see, anything that you could measure above the level of the DNA sequence, right? So behavior, morphology, physiology, all of these things are part of the phenotype. And the idea is that, we know this, we all know this intuitively, that a lot of stuff is context dependent, right? So what's possible, how an organism develops, depends on its external environment, on the resources available to it, on the conditions around it. That's true in a short-term, kind of moment-by-moment way, like, oh, you didn't get enough sleep last night, now you're not performing so well today. It's true on a longer-term sense. Somebody who's malnourished is not going to maybe grow to their full height that they could have had they had a better diet. Humans are incredibly plastic. And we can look at plasticity in lots of different ways, but kind of understanding the phenotype, understanding how organisms develop, how they express their different characteristics. Part of it is about the underlying genetic capacity, but then how that capacity is expressed in the phenotype, very context dependent. Some of it's inevitable, just like the environment impacts development, and some of it, which I think is really cool, and it's part of, the stuff that we study, is actually adaptively matched. So under different circumstances, the right thing to do is not always the same. And again, this is something that we know intuitively from situations that we deal with in our own lives. The right behavior, the right response to different situations is not always the same. How you're going to dress when you go to a job interview and when you go out with your friends, not the same. You're presenting, in some way, a different phenotype. The same thing for the eggs I study. The right time to hatch, if a snake is about to swallow you, is sooner than, if you're in like a totally safe environment. And lots of animals we know now, and plants, lots of organisms change their phenotype adaptively in response to their environment. So these little frog eggs that we study are a great system to look at adaptive plasticity. And now the current grant that we're working on is development of adaptive embryo behavior. And so we're looking at, as these little embryos are developing and they're changing, and what they can perceive is changing, essentially what they can know about the world, what they're capable of doing, their size, their strength, their other abilities, things like the size of their lungs. That affects what they can do, and it affects what they should do given different circumstances. So we're trying to tease that apart and understand it.